The Chinese government started a social media campaign against the US government's recognition of China as genocide and crime against the humanity in East Turkestan. The Chinese government sent a document of the requirements for this campaign to government workers. One of the workers secretly leaked the document to the Uyghur diaspora. Requirements in the document are as follows. One Uyghur person from each local unit has to use the form of short video footage to express its stance. One Uyghur person has to speak in each video. A person must be fluent in Han Chinese language, must use cell phone for recording, and the video should not be longer than a minute. First, the person who speaks in the video has to identify themselves by telling their name and ethnicity. Then they need to take a clear stance against Mike Pompeo's anti-China speech. For example, the person in the video must say, "I strongly protest Pompeo's statement. His statement makes me very angry." At the end of the video, they must express patriotic feelings by saying, "I am a Chinese citizen. I love my country very much. Right now, I have the perfect job and the perfect life." These campaign words lined exactly with the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Zhao Lijian's answer to the United States National Public Radio reporter's question about China's genocide in East Turkestan on January 28. He repeated 3 times that there is no genocide in China when he answered the question. He also added, regarding Pompeo and his like are concocting a century of Xinjiang-related lies and spreading rumors and slanders on China's Xinjiang-related policies. China will never accept it and has repeatedly criticized it and clarified. However, the campaign document clearly explained how the Chinese government forced Uyghurs in creating thousands of false testimonies to post on Chinese social media Douyin to criticize former US State Secretary Mike Pompeo. According to the Australian Strategic Policy Institute's research, 16,000 mosques were destroyed between 2017 to 2020. There are many video evidence and Google images of the destruction of these mosques. This video posted by a Chinese citizen recently shows another mosque that was destroyed by the Chinese government. There is also video evidence showing the Chinese government forced Uyghur dancers and singers to sing and dance in the mosques. Despite the evidence, the Uyghurs who gave false testimonies and criticized State Secretary Pompeo in their video statements were also forced to say that they had religious freedom. Camp survivor Zumrat Dawood said, "Praying and going to the mosque are considered as crimes and are forbidden in East Turkestan. My father was scared to go to a mosque when I was in Urumqi," she said, "because many people were arrested for praying. One day, Chinese government workers came to our house and told my father that foreign journalists are visiting the mosque, so he should go there and pray. My father could not believe them. He was afraid that they would punish him after the journalists left. He said no, so they offered money to make him pray." Uyghurs in the diaspora are harshly criticizing China's shameless denial and attitude about its genocide. Each Uyghur family lost 1 or 2 family members to either Chinese concentration camps or forced labor camps. In some cases, the entire family is destroyed. Each person of around 1 million Uyghurs in the diaspora can testify that more than one family member, friends, or relatives were arrested. Unfortunately, not all of them dare to tell the truth publicly as they are being terrorized by China. According to a New York Times report in 2019, more than 500,000 Uyghur kids were forcibly removed from their families after their parents were arrested. These kids are currently suffering in China's prison-style orphanages. every Uyghur woman in East Turkestan experienced either forced IUD insertion, forced abortion, or forced sterilization. According to a German scholar, Adrian Zen's research based on the Chinese state statistics, the Uyghur population has drastically declined since 2017. Uyghurs in East Turkestan are still experiencing an ongoing genocide. Living under genocidal watch, Uyghurs have no choice than to be better actors. They have to repeat what Beijing dictates to them and to give fake testimony to support China's denial of genocide. The Chinese government also started a campaign to post fake testimonies about the forced labor. The Uyghur woman in this video said, "Mr. Pompeo, no one forced us to work. We are working to make money." In another video, a woman said, "Before we had no job and stayed at home. Now we are happy to have a job and we are getting good payment." China's forced labor was started since China invaded East Turkestan under the name of Hashar. Uyghur villagers are forced to work for 2 months without any payment to the Chinese government every year. Since 2006, it was extended to factory work, and China starts to transfer Uyghur girls to inland China under the name of Shengyu Laodong, excessive labor force. We have a video taken 13 years ago by the undercover journalists of the East Turkestan Information Center. These young women in the video are mostly high school graduates. In this manufactory explained how they were forced to come to inland China. For 13 years, China has been occupying the world market with their cheap-priced products made with Uyghur slave labor. Escaping from forced labor by paying a heavy fine is impossible for these workers in the present day. The situation is worse than the 1540s barbaric Spanish colonizers' encomienda system in South America, since these workers are monitored with digital 24-hour surveillance systems. In the last few years, the number of Uyghurs deported from their homeland and forced to work in inland China dramatically increased, followed by mass arbitrary detentions in concentration camps. According to an Australian Strategic Policy Institute news report from March of 2019, at least 80,000 Uyghurs, mostly women, have been transferred into forced labor. A young ethnic Kazakh man, Yelisin Erkin, who did administration work in Gulja City's Chapchal forced labor camp in East Turkestan, testified how these women were forced to work in these camps. He said, 70% of these workers are women between 16 to 45 years old, working in the factory designated as a forced labor camp in Chapchal County. These women are never allowed to go home and see their children, husband, or other family members unless they can get emergency issues and they get permission from the factory owner. Monthly salaries range between $5.88 to $61.90. It's barely enough for their hygiene expenses, despite being forced to work 14 hours every day. Yelisin Erkin recently escaped to Ukraine and asked political asylum. The Chinese government is trying to personalize the issue as if the recognition of China's genocide against the Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims is former State Secretary Mike Pompeo's personal decision by attacking him. However, China's those tactics were ruined by the new State Secretary Antony Blinken. My judgment remains that genocide was committed against the Uyghurs, and that hasn't changed, said Antony Blinken, Secretary of State, at a press availability on January 27.